world's first, the EU created legislation to regulate artificial intelligence called AI Act. But it now seems to be moving away from effective protection for those harmed by this technology by abandoning the AI Liability Directive. The withdrawal of the proposal to ensure justice for AI victims is the theme of this EU Decoded.
The Artificial Intelligence Act came into force in the EU in August 2024. It defines 4 levels of risk for AI systems: unacceptable, high, limited, and minimal. 8 practices are prohibited as unacceptable based on personal behavior or characteristics. Among those practices are, for example, predicting the risk of people committing a criminal offense, extracting facial images from the internet and CCTV to create databases, or use of person biometric data to deduce their race, political opinions, sexual orientation, etc.
The prohibitions came into effect this month, but there are many other risks for health, safety and fundamental rights. So how concerned are Europeans about means for redressing the harm caused by AI services and products?
Jó lesz a végeredmény, nem tudjuk, hogy mennyire lesz okos a végeredmény, hogy szuperintelligencia lesz, vagy csak marad ilyen, mint most, hogy szupportálni tud minket, így még nem tudjuk azt sem megítélni, hogy mennyire veszélyes.
Biztos, hogy kéne olyan döntéseket hozni törvényileg, amiben megtiltjuk például, hogy egy kisgyerek a másikat a mesterséges intelligenciával tudja úgy bántani, zaklatni, mert kamuprofilok, kamu videók, hangfelvétel alapján generálnak felvételeket, és a többi.
Pues, para como está planteada ahora, creo que es una ayuda a las tareas que hacemos en el día a día. Entiendo que según vaya se desarrolle la inteligencia artificial, pues irá detrás el marco legal.
Puede hacer mucho daño también. Pues montarte cosas, inventándote también.
Yo creo que es una tecnología sumamente interesante, pero también muy peligrosa si no se tiene una regulación adecuada, ¿no?
With us is Cynthia Kruth, which follows EU's tech policy. So the European Commission proposed the AI Liability Directive 2 years ago. What was the goal at the time and why does it want to drop it now?
The AI Act was agreed last year and now starts to apply. The liability rules would harmonize the approach in Europe, so not to have 27 different laws regarding this, and actually would also find it easier for consumers to find a place where to complain against faulty AI products. But the European Commission, they published their work program for 2025 a few weeks ago, and it was on the list to withdraw. They don't think that it made enough progress and it will not make enough progress neither in the next months.
And why do we need an AI liability directive when there is a product liability directive that somehow also covers digital products, namely software?
Yeah, the two exist and they were actually proposed around the same time. There's a big difference because the product liability directive only covers faulty products, so actually material damage. And in the case of AI liability, it would be faults made, for example, by an algorithm. So, for example, discriminatory outcomes of an AI system.
And the European Parliament seems somehow more interested in moving forward with specific rules for AI. Do you think this directive can still be rescued and somehow see the light of the day?
The Commission is still open to discuss it with the European Parliament. The only thing is now that the Parliament itself is also divided. There's a few groups, mostly the left, the S&D and the Greens, that are in favor of this. They want to protect consumers like this, while the ECR and the EPP are against, and they think actually the AI Act in itself could be enough to protect consumers.
Abandoning the AI Liability Directive can be a symptom that the European Commission is listening to critics who say too much regulation hurts industrial competitiveness. To address this, President Ursula von der Leyen announced a new fund during the AI Global Summit in Paris in early February. Invest AI will mobilize 200 billion euros to finance 4 future AI gigafactories across the EU. A dozen smaller units are also planned, allowing companies to test their AI models.
With us is Brando Benifei, a centre-left Italian MEP that was co-rapporteur on the AI Act. Thank you for being with us. You classify the withdrawal of this directive as a disappointing choice because it creates legal uncertainty. What are the risks at stake?
Today, the product liability rules are difficult to apply in a proper way to protect consumers, citizens, workers, the vulnerable people, as well as small and medium-sized businesses when we deal with AI. So we wanted specific rules because having no rules for this means that the 27 member states will end up having different liability regimes. So we know this will be the outcome, and it would hinder our competitiveness.
Well, the Commission said that the proposal was stalled, but it seems open to continuing discussing this matter. What could be the strategy to get rules that would help the individuals to defend their rights when it comes to IA?
So we have different ways. Directive would still be the best way forward. A light legislation, not too heavy, but that can create a minimum common standard. The alternative is to recommend certain rules to the member states, but that's a weaker way because it leaves more space for governments to just not do anything and ignore the indication. The other way could be to modify directly the product liability legislation, which is also, for various reasons, a bit of a cumbersome approach.
So the President of the European Commission has said, and I quote, AI should be a force for good and growth. Do you think regulation is somehow affecting the competitiveness of the EU when compared to China and the US?
I think our competitiveness in Europe is hindered by various factors. We have less access to capital for investment in the digital area. We need more infrastructure for computing. And then we have the issue of having streamlined and clear rules. But we cannot renounce to protecting our citizens, our businesses, our public institutions, our democracy from the risks of discrimination, of disinformation, of damage by misuse of AI.
The AI Act will be fully applicable by 2027, but the EU also doesn't want to lose the innovation race. For example, the bloc will have to find a solution for the recent US restrictions to the export of AI chips. So, can the Union find a balance between the desire to be an AI powerhouse while still protecting the rights of its citizens?